Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I'm going to share with you perspective from a number of XRP chart analysts, including one who says XRP has broken out of its trend, and that is a direct quote. Now, this is happening at a time early in the AM when XRP has been showing some moves. In fact, it just a short bit before recording this video was as high as $2.48, and at this exact moment, it's at $2.46. So, shh, nobody say anything so as to not jinx this. I'm just kidding. I don't believe in jinxing. There's no science behind that. But I'm going to share with you perspective also from a number of individuals that are very optimistic, let's say, that we are still in a bull market and we're going to blaze ahead because the best days, well, of course, they come at the end of the cycle. That hasn't happened yet. That euphoric alt season, there's still plenty of good reasons to believe that it's exactly where we're heading. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this video, it is 4:20 a.m. Central Time, and it is now Monday, October 20th, 2025. XRP again, $2.46. Bitcoin, $111,000, just a hair above that. And look at this 24-hour XRP chart. Here's the 24-hour Bitcoin chart, and as I flip back and forth between them, you can see these are the same damn charts. Look at that. They are very much the same. And, as much as so many people don't want to recognize this, betting on the betting within the crypto asset class, which is a kind of fun, jerky way to say investing in the crypto asset class, it is one big trade. It ultimately is, which isn't to say that fundamentals don't matter, but it is to say that when the market gets hot directionally, coins tend to do the same thing. But it's not luck that XRP is one of only 3 coins that have ever been created that have always been in the top 10 coins by market cap for their entire existence. And those 3 coins, of course, be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. Those are the only 3 coins that have always been in the top 10 coins by market cap for their entire existence. So yes, utility matters, and if not for the fact that XRP is useful, people like me wouldn't be holding it here. I'm just noting that when the market goes, it is one big trade. Now, the reason that I'm not willing to go further out the risk curve, even though it's obviously true, is because when you get into the smaller cap stuff and micro cap stuff, a lot of that stuff, as history shows, even though it directionally does the same, like look at what happened last market cycle. Only about 20% of coins hit new all-time highs. So just because directionally they're doing the same thing, it doesn't mean that everything's going to hit a new all-time high. Most coins won't. Most coins are ultimately going to go to zero. So I'm not playing with that junk. I barely hold any small caps. I'm very heavily into large caps and some mid caps. I don't care if that makes me lame. That's where the right that's the right risk profile for me. I'll say that. It's the sweet spot because there's so little money today in 2025, even in large caps like XRP, that you can still get life-changing wealth even in XRP, even in 2025. Now, that's not always going to be the case. Eventually, if you want to get that type of return, you're not going to be able to get it in large caps. Fast forward another, I don't know if it's going to take 10, 15, 20 years. I'm not making a prediction, but way further out. Eventually, yeah, you're not going to be able to get life-changing wealth by investing in XRP because it will have already totally dominated. There will be so much more money in XRP. Not that it'll be a bad idea to purchase it. It's just that these days of getting 5, 10, 15, 20-fold increases in very short order, they're going to be gone. So congratulations and kudos to you for being here in 2025 before we get to that point, because way less than 1% of humans have ever bought XRP at any point in history, and you're one of them. You beat almost every single other human on the planet. And if XRP could reach $3.65, its all-time high in July of this year, if it could hit that high with barely any humans and businesses and institutions throwing money into it, what do you think it's going to hit once it's really hit its stride? What type of price levels will it actually hit? I don't make price predictions, but I believe way higher, and that's why those it's chart analysts that are predicting for double-digit price action for XRP, that's why I don't think they're crazy. We've already gotten this high without sufficient appreciation for utility. That's amazing as far as I'm concerned. Here's a post from Credible Crypto, and this is actually just from, about 2.5 hours ago. This is 1:51 a.m. Central Time. And so obviously the market going up a little bit here, and Credible Crypto's optimistic. It's about to go even higher. He said, send the king to $116,000 plus minimum, and ideally new all-time highs. So he doesn't normally share posts quite like that. He seems to be optimistic that there's at least a strong possibility that this is a moment where we do rampage a lot higher, despite the fact that just a week and a half ago, we saw the biggest liquidation event in crypto history. Ultimately, that is not going to matter. It really just isn't. Here's a post from Seth Golden. I'm highlighting this because the crypto asset class moves in tandem with the stock market. So what happens in the S&P 500 should matter to you, even if you're like me and you're way more interested in your altcoins. You're way more interested in what happens with XRP. I'm with you. I'm right there with you. But I'm looking for confluence in the market. And I also want to understand what historic precedent tells us is most probable, because history does tend to rhyme with itself. And so what are we looking at here? It's a various S&P 500 index 6-month return. So it's looking at various 6-month periods and which period historically results in the greatest returns. And so Seth Golden here wrote, in just 2 weeks, markets will enter the best 6-month period to own stocks, November through April. No more sell in May. Positivity rate, 78%. Average 6-month return, 7%. Now, that's pretty astonishing, actually. The odds that in that particular period, you're going to end up being higher, 4/5 of the time, just about. And average, you're going to be up 7%. Hey, look, if this ends up being the case, and history rhymes with itself here, and you know that crypto moves in tandem, that would be exactly what we want. And, certainly, hopefully, also the Russell 2000 opening up in terms of breadth. Here's another one from Seth Golden, though. This one's really fascinating. I like this. It says, year 4 of the bull market began last week. Only one bull market ended in its 4th year since 1957. That bull market ended in a midterm election year. Unfortunately, possibly, 2026 is a midterm election year. Still a low probability, but midterm years suck nonetheless. Your best positioning for 2026 occurs in Q4 2025, right? So if history rhymes with itself, you're going to see a fantastic 2026, which also plays well with this idea that you're going to see a lengthening market cycle. Raoul Paul's been talking about that. Julian Biddle, TechDev, they've all been proponents for this particular idea. And this particular market cycle, as you can see, started for S&P 500 here 3 years ago, October 12th, 2022. That's what they've marked as the beginning of that. So 3 years deep, 2026, that would mark the end of year 4. And what he's highlighting here is that going back to, what do you say here, 1957, going back to 1957, there's only been one instance where a bull market ended inside of its 4th year. One instance ever. So is this going to be the second time it's ever happened? Going back to 1957? I mean, I don't know for sure. It's possible. But the reason I love highlighting stuff like this is because history does rhyme with itself. So when you put a large enough sample size of humans in a similar situation as what we've seen in the past, don't expect a particularly different outcome. That's why you can look at stuff like this and come to conclusions about what is probable, though not certain. You don't know for sure. And I don't know. I'm not pretending to know for sure. But it's about playing the odds and figuring out what makes the most sense, what is most probable to occur, even though we can't know for sure. Well, I'm not going to go against the odds. You guys can. I ain't going to do it. I'll tell you that. Here's a post from Bobby A. He said, if you want a strong signal that this cycle is likely extending into 2026, look no further than Ethereum. Ethereum is telling us a lot right now. Okay, and so he didn't go into greater detail there. The reason I'm highlighting that is because this is yet another analyst who, this is the first time I noticed from him anyway, that he's acknowledging this cycle really could be going into 2026. It wasn't a popular idea throughout most of this year. I highlighted this concept at various points throughout this year, saying, I don't know if this is going to happen. It seems much more probable the more time passes, obviously. But I highlighted the idea because it's coming from some of the most reputable sources in all of crypto. Again, names I just cited: Raoul Paul, Julian Biddle, and TechDev. Some of the most well-respected analysts with fantastic hit rates. and they've given reasons as to why they believe that this cycle is extending into 2026, having to do specifically with global liquidity and the business cycle. And now you have here Bobby A saying he's seeing in the chart, I guess, presumably anyway, in the charts, that it looks like Ethereum is going to be extending into that time period. So it seems in short order, unless something really happens now and starts popping off, there could be a lot more analysts coming to terms with the idea that, yeah, actually this is an extended cycle having to do with debt refinancing, because that's what Raoul Pal anyway is saying is the catalyst for this. And as a result of that, it's changing when money flows through the system. And that means market pops off in 2026 for its euphoric blow-off top, if Raoul Pal's right. So we'll find out together if the thesis is correct, but I'm just highlighting, here's a talented analyst, Bobby A. He's one of the guys that accurately called XRP breaking out this market cycle, saying, yeah, looks like Ethereum's going in 2026, and you know that XRP follows that. So if this thing's going to burst, and also Ethereum is what kicks off alt season historically, yeah, the best is yet ahead. Here's a post from Charting Guy, and this is from April of last year, and I've shared this multiple times since then. There's a reason I'm highlighting this. Hang with me, though. Even if you've seen this before, there's a reason, really good reason that I'm highlighting this specifically. So this is a post from Charting Guy showing XRP Bollinger Bands and citing that they're the tightest in history as of April 16th of last year, 2024. He said here, XRP monthly Bollinger Bands are now the tightest they've ever been in history. 0.7 for the width. The tightest it got before this was 0.73 in 2017. 1 month before, rocket ship emoji. And so you can see, if you look at the upper and lower boundaries, it's these blue bars. And then specifically the orange line right in the middle. And you can see the tightest it got right here in 2017 before it rocketed. It just opened up. And then that was happening again as of April. And Bollinger Bands, it's a volatility indicator. So as volatility decreases, that's what this is tracking here. And reduced volatility is what precedes big moves, massive breakouts. So when you saw that this is getting to the tightest in history, that this is exactly why for like half of 2024, I was like, guys, I'm not going to pretend to know when this thing's going to break. I admit I don't know. But when it goes, it's going to be highly forceful. That was accurate, wasn't it? Of course it was. And then it doesn't tell you if the burst is going to be to the upside or the downside, but throughout 2024, I insisted it would be to the upside almost certainly, because we're in a bull market. So duh. So it got tighter, and then in July there's another post from him here citing it got even tighter here. Got to 65. It was absolutely wild. And then it kept getting even tighter a little bit further into the year, and then finally we had the market breakout, XRP breakout in November of 2024. So you love to see that, but you know who created the Bollinger Bands metric? That would be John Bollinger, this guy right here. This is his official account on X. He almost never posts about crypto. Well, he doesn't post that frequently anyway. He almost never posts about crypto. And check out what he posted just the other day. Potential W bottoms in Bollinger Band terms in Ethereum and Solana, but not in Bitcoin. Going to be time to pay attention soon, I think. Now, the W bottom, what he's talking about there is a rather bullish formation in the charts and referencing Bollinger Bands also. And so even though he's not saying that it applies to Bitcoin here, that's not some sort of bearish outlook for Bitcoin per se. He's specifically citing something positive that he sees with a couple of altcoins, Ethereum and Solana. And Ethereum, again, leads the alt season here. The fact that he's seeing this right here, I mean, he's literally the creator of Bollinger Bands. It's fascinating to see this. And the significance of that post, I think, was aptly stated by Satoshi Flipper, a popular chart analyst with 237,000 followers. He noted this as well. And he said, John Bollinger, creator of Bollinger Bands, makes barely one crypto call per year and hasn't made one for Ethereum in 3 years until yesterday. And each call he makes goes on to mark generational bottoms. He just told us Solana and Ethereum have bottomed. Now imagine fading this legend. And folks, that is the implication, given the chart formation that he cited right there. That's the right takeaway. He's telling us, yeah, it looks like Ethereum has basically bottomed right here. And he believes that we're still in the bull market and that this thing's going to rocket to the upside. I'm going with that. I'm going with that guy and all the other many analysts that believe, yeah, of course the bull market's not over. That's what makes sense to me. Here's a post from chart analyst Tony Severino, and this is the crypto total market cap excluding the top 10 coins by market cap. And chart analyst Tony Severino says, so this is altcoins, of course. He says, these charts are perhaps the most bullish arguments I can make for altcoins. Price action looks oddly similar to COVID on the higher time frames. Both landed on 50-month moving average and Bollinger Band basis during a mega squeeze. And so he's comparing what happened back here, where I'm moving my mouse, 2020 with the pandemic, to where we are right now. And we just had that liquidation, obviously. And he's citing the Bollinger Bands, which very obviously are tight. You can see the red line at the top is the upper boundary and the green at the bottom. And just hanging out right there. Same setup as what we saw back then. Look, take it for what it's worth. It's another analyst is like, yeah, this is a pretty bullish outlook. I think the best is yet ahead for us, folks. Here's a post from chart analyst Zoom. It says, on the high time frame, targeting XRP to make a move to the $4.80 to $5.20 zone. Once we get there, I'll update. So his confidence still is not shaken. He believes that we're going to be seeing that sooner rather than later. That's what he's suspecting is going to unfold here. He does believe that XRP ultimately goes way higher into double-digit price action. He said that many times before, though. But yeah, to kick off the party, I'd like to see that. Here's a post from Chart Nerd. He says, XRP, even with that nasty wick, of course that would be the liquidation event, says that the 6-month candles show no signs of a bearish trend flip. I expect continuation to $5 in the next impulse, then $8 to $13, and finally the $27 1.618 target for this cycle's blow-off top. The macro move is not over, it's just beginning. And so you can see what he's highlighting here is that structurally what is playing out is the same thing that happened in the 2017 cycle. It's just that obviously now, as many analysts have been noting, it's taking longer because everything's taking longer in the crypto asset class. And that goes back to what Raoul Pal and Julian Biddle and TechDev have been talking about. This idea of global liquidity and as a result of the business cycle lengthening having to do with debt refinancing that was normally on average 4 years and now it's stretched out into 5 years. It just has. And then you notice again, like I said, Bobby A saying, hey, Ethereum looks like it's going to be going in 2026. So again, take it for what it's worth. It doesn't mean stuff can't happen sooner. I'm just telling you what people are sharing publicly. And you guys can come to your own conclusions here. Here's a post from Ether Nacional. He says, XRP is cooking something up. Chart has been inverted, but the story remains the same. XRP is still gathering strength within the demand zone, emerging from the 2018 major resistance. While the direction may seem confusing, the structure is clear. The next major move is being prepared to the upside. And I will note that he has talked about double-digit price action in other posts. So he certainly believes that the best is yet ahead as well. And this is what I keep finding. Here's a post from chart analyst CW. He says, XRP has broken out of its trend. And I will note when he posted this, XRP was actually only $2.39. So, of course, it's a little bit higher at the moment that I'm recording this here. But he seems to think that this is it. Now, I haven't seen a bunch of other analysts coming to the same conclusion. So, take it with a grain of salt at this point, just because in my experience, when you see a bunch of analysts pointing out the same or similar thing, they're almost always right. This is the first instance of this, though, so I thought I'd highlight this. I mean, there's always somebody that calls something first. So if he ends up being the first that out of the group analysts that I follow, then awesome. If I don't start seeing more calling for this, then I'm going to be skeptical. But I mean, you can see right here, it is poking out of the trend line. So let's see if this persists. But again, look, the asset class, it moves in tandem. So if Bitcoin's going to play ball here, and I think you're going to see XRP and the entire altcoin sector just rock. It's just a question of when, though. Like, I don't doubt that it's going to happen. I do believe that it's going to happen. It really is just a question of when and then to what degree. Here's another post from CW, and this is from just a few hours ago, 12:44 a.m. It says, XRP is liquidating high leverage short positions. And oh, yes, you'd love to see that. Maybe don't bet against XRP, you idiot sticks. What the actual hell is wrong with you? It's just ridiculous. These people play with leverage still. Like, people just got completely obliterated a week and a half ago. They're like, yeah, but I'm just gonna do it still. That's what they sound like in my head. Bunch of idiots. Just damn fools here. I'm gonna light my financial life on fire. Freaking, what a bunch of dumbasses. What a bunch of actual dumbasses. It's just the stupidest damn thing. You make thousands of percentage point gains just by buying crypto and then not doing anything for a while. Like, that's it. All it takes is hodling. Excuse me. Sorry, folks. I'm going to take a sip of water. I've pretty well gotten over my sickness, but there's just something about when I start talking, it's just, sometimes the cough comes to me still. Anyway, and then there was this from E. Greg Crypto, and he was noting some key levels here. Excuse me. XRP USD, of course, on the screen. And he says, key levels to watch. Critical support, no closure between, or below rather, $2.20 on the 3-day time frame is acceptable. A bullish signal, he says, would be a close of $2.55 to $2.65 on the 3-day time frame. Hey, we're getting close to that range at least. And he says, new all-time high trigger. If we break above $3.20 to $3.40, we're on our way to new all-time highs. And so he also has not lost his confidence that, yes, the best is indeed yet ahead. He's very confident we are still going to see double-digit price action this market cycle. He insists that we are not entering a bear market. So we will see here, folks. I'm optimistic. Of course, as I'm wrapping up the video now, the price XRP is going out. It's at $2.45 now, but it's the whole market cap for the asset class. Bitcoin now dropping a hair below 111,000. Nothing dramatic here. But who knows what it is by the time you're watching this. Hopefully higher. And hopefully this idea of XRP having broken out of its trend, hopefully that comes to pass. But again, it's only one analyst that's saying it right now. So let's see if it persists. But even if this isn't the moment, I still got to insist. All we have to do is nothing. All we have to do is wait, and then we just get there anyway. And we can't control that, so make peace with that. And just have fun with the journey. That's what I've been doing for almost 8 years now. And it works. It does just work. Spend years and years and years accumulating. That's what I've done. And then more money flows in. Stuff becomes worth more than it was by a lot. Life-changingly so. That's the deal. And there's nothing special about me. I haven't done anything amazing. I've bought and then I've done nothing. And yes, the average person can do this. I have nothing to sell you. I'm just telling you what in my experience has worked. You do whatever you want. But yes, regular people like you and I absolutely can achieve life-changing wealth in crypto. It happens every single freaking day. It's happening right now for me. It's just taken a while, but that's fine. This is a real story. It really has worked for me. And I'm intending to cash out as soon as we have the parabolic blow off top here. All the market euphoria, absolutely. I'm going to be scaling on my positions, including XRP. Then we'll enter a bear market, and then I'm going to buy a bunch of stuff on the cheap and do it all over again. And you and I can make even more wealth. And we'll talk about what's going on and what makes sense to purchase and stuff, and then the depths of the bear market. I'll talk about all that stuff. You better believe XRP is going to be a huge part of it for me even next market cycle, though. I will buy back in heavy. Absolutely. After the price is cratered along with everything else. But yeah, because XRP is here to stay. Like, why would you take... Like, it's the same as like a blue chip stock at this point. It's a blue chip crypto. Like it's here to stay, my friends. It's an early winner of the crypto space. It couldn't be more freaking obvious. So anyway, these are good times. This is a time to be very excited and optimistic for the future so far as I'm concerned. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.